Hi there, it's Kate Cashman here from katecashman.com and The Breath Between. I'm having a rather relaxing, lovely morning here in Tasmania. It could be any time of the day that you're watching this, but I was really called to talk this week on the video blog about something that we've been calling quiet parenting. Now, I know not all of you are going to be parents that are watching this, but for some of you, you will be. And it's something that as an extrovert type A personality, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily associate with me. And they probably wouldn't associate it with my kids, particularly my toddler, if you've met my crazy almost 4-year-old boy. And for that matter, my crazy 15-month-old girl. But it's something that has totally and utterly revolutionised our house. Now, recently we had an amazing, amazing woman come to our house and teach us the value of quiet. Now, we've always had quiet in our household. We don't have a television. And so our kids, our son particularly, our daughter's getting to that stage, spends a lot of time outside and a lot of time in his bedroom reading, a lot of time just playing by himself rather than in front of the TV. We do still use technology, of course, but we just don't have the TV on. So we thought we were doing pretty well. This woman came in, Nicole, came in and helped us and was absolutely amazing in terms of showing us the value of quietening down and helping our son build his own independence and resilience. And so I started to do a little bit more research about this whole idea of quiet parenting. And if someone like me, who speaks at a million miles an hour sometimes and could speak underwater with a mouthful of marbles, as so many people describe me, then you can do it too. And I just would love to share some of the benefits with you that we've noticed and that some of my research has thrown up as well. So quiet parenting is really all about stripping back the unnecessary explanations, stopping overloading our children with information, and just letting them be. Now, to give you an example, I have been a chronic over-describer. Over-explainer. So if my son asks, "What's that, mummy?" instead of just giving him a 1 or 2 sentence answer, because I've been brought up to think, well, we'll increase that richness of vocabulary, I spend ages, maybe 15 minutes, explaining what it is because I want his knowledge to be rich and I want him to have a keen sense of understanding. But what we were taught and what we've realised is that by doing that, we're actually just totally and utterly overloading him, particularly in the second half of the day when he seems to want to wind down. So by taking all that away and focusing on play, focusing on love, food, warmth, and a little bit of, and stories, and the way we speak to each other as adults is obviously influencing his vocabulary as well. But it has shown such an incredible improvement on his behaviour, and it's included a lot more quiet time in our household. So I was the epitome of stress, busyness, rushing around, and I was really conscious of that flowing over to my kids because they model everything that we do. So I had to step back and realise that if I was constantly busy, rushing around, constantly working, constantly on technology, then my kids weren't seeing me slow down, be quiet, and that's not something that I want to model to them because I don't want the next generation to grow up without the tools that they need to feel less stressed and to be less busy. So some of the benefits, and I think overall there are 6 that I think come from quiet parenting. The first is just a general overall benefit for well-being. So it allows children not to be rushed, not to have a lot of noise, not to be overloaded, and that's good for their well-being and their development. The second reason I think is that it's important for kids to decompress, particularly if they've had busy mornings or if they've just had a quiet day. It's still really important for kids to decompress. And what that actually does by slowing them down, taking the notch down and being quiet and modelling rest to them is it reduces stress. Now, we know that our young people are getting more and more stressed, and as parents, it's our role to model the reduction of stress, but also to help manage the stress reduction in our kids. The third reason is it helps kids switch off. By being more quiet, taking away the unnecessary words, the unnecessary explanations. If my son asks me a question that I know he knows the answer to, I'll let him answer it. Sometimes I'll just pretend I haven't heard him, and that's not rude. Or I'll say, you know the answer to that. You tell me, rather than me going into a long-winded explanation, because I want him to trust that he knows what he's talking about. What that's actually led to is, and that helping him switch off, is actually better sleep. It's definitely led to better sleep in our household. The fourth is that it builds resilience and going inward. And this is something that's so important to me as someone who has always had meditation in their life, but only in the last few years have really come back to a regular daily practice, is that going inward and quiet contemplation, even for those of us that are extroverts and super loud, is so important to rejuvenate and replenish ourselves. And what it's actually doing when my son has to answer questions for himself, and I'm not constantly reiterating what he already knows, that's building his resilience. That's building his independence. The fifth reason why we have, or the fifth benefit of quiet parenting that we've seen, is that it's building his independence. When there's less noise, less chatting, more freedom to play, he has bloomed in terms of being able to answer those things for himself, being able to do things for himself. And it's definitely shown him that he is more capable and his independence has grown. That's been a huge benefit, and it's something that we want him to take with him as he gets older. You'll probably notice your kids doing that, asking you questions that they know the answer to. Now, we thought that was pretty harmless, and it probably is, but it also shows kids, and what it's subconsciously and subliminally sometimes communicating to kids, is that they can't trust their own answer, or they can't trust their own interpretation or their own instincts. So by quietening down and letting them do that, it's building their independence. And the last thing is something that I'm really passionate about doing as a parent, and I know all of you who are watching who are parents would want to do, and that is, it's important to model what you want your children to do. So I don't want my children to be frantic like I was and like I have been. And admittedly, I do get like that, and that's real life, and that's totally fine, and we want our kids to see real life. But I don't want my kids to be busy and stressed and not able, to relax and not able to slow down. So by consciously trying to practice more quiet parenting, taking away the explanations in a lot of detail, taking away the words, doesn't mean we don't explain things, doesn't mean we don't talk to our son. It just quietens everything down. So I hope that if you're watching this and you are a parent or you want to be a parent one day, just remember your children will model everything that you do. And a little bit of quiet time doesn't hurt anybody. It's good for their well-being. It's important to teach them to decompress. It helps kids switch off. It builds their resilience. It builds their independence, and it models what you want your children to do. Have a beautiful week. I'm going to stick on the quiet side over the next couple of weeks on the video blog, the quiet side of my, of some of the subjects that I'm really interested in. So I will see you next week for some more information on quiet time. See you then. Bye.